All right, Jeremy here, Jeeps Unlimited, partsbreakers.com, 303-666-9020. Again, partsbreakers.com. All right, May 10th, day before Mother's Day, 2025, Saturday. Happy Mother's Day to my mom, my wife, my sisters, my mother-in-law, and to all you mothers out there I've never met. You are what brought us into this world after all, so we have a great amount of gratitude, even though us men probably don't show it all the time. No, I don't. I should. I do try, but anyway, that's not why we're here today. We're here to take a look at this tub. So this was a tub that one of my guys, when they loaded, had marked it as a YJ, and it just happened to be when I was walking by it. There's a couple of things you can tell. They're really similar, and for the guys who don't know, you can use a YJ tub, but you do have to make some changes on them. And the areas, I'm not going to go over that in detail because there's a couple similarities, there's a couple differences. But dimensionally, they're exactly the same, okay? Width, height, length. And the door openings, exactly the same, at least on the later ones. These are different than the early CJ7 tubs, but even the YJs will be more similar to this than an earlier one as well. So you can use it all the way back to 76, but there's some significant changes they made, mainly in the supporting bracing on these things. So type of roll bars and whatnot. So there's another video that shows that. We have lots of videos. There's probably 5,000 videos in the last 21 years. I shit you not. But it's those holes in the bottom that immediately I was like, hey, that's not a YJ. And again, you can go into the videos and see what I'm talking about, or you may already know. But anyway, if this had been a YJ, it'd been a lower grade YJ, but because it's a CJ7 and they're so freaking hard to get, it's still going to be a B. It'll be a lower B, and there's definitely some reasons why. But if you want to have any kind of reference, we do A's, B's, and C's. I usually don't like to do CJC tubs, but sometimes it's all you get. There's a perfect example. I don't have any absolutely prime A's, and I'm in the course of 21 years, we probably had 5. They're really, really hard to get. Absolutely perfect. There's always something you have to do to them, it seems like. But a tub that would need nothing other than maybe paint, bolt on, ready to go, is going to be priced $1,000 higher than the one I listed earlier. I don't put the exact prices because mainly these videos float out there for, as you know, 10, 20 years, and prices change over that time. So, but if you go to the website and you look at the one I just put up, you'll see what that one's listed at, and you'll see this one being right at $1,000 lower than that one, and the one, if we were to have a perfect one, $1,000 more than that one. And then if you want to go even further, there's a yellow one on this site we've had up for a while, and that's part of the reason I don't like C grades. And its price almost $1,000 cheaper than this one will be. So there is right now we have a C grade, a solid C. And then we have 2 Bs, a low B, this one, and then a high B, and then, again, we know no perfect As. You could almost call the other one an A or a low A, and I might have even done that just because there is some repairs, but it's fairly easy repairs. This one's easy as well, or I shouldn't say easy. Easy is always relative, right? Hard, easy. Depends on what your skill set is or who you're working with and how much they charge. But I would say there's a little bit more extensive on this one and a little bit more repair needed on this one. Still in the same areas almost, but just more on this one, or a couple areas extra in this one. So without further ado, let's get into it. First and foremost, that corner's got a nice scratch, pretty deep, or ding as you want to call it, if you'd like to call it that. It looks like they rubbed up against something. But again, that corner, absolutely, that's a beautiful corner. For a CJ or even a YJ, even TJ, they almost always get banged up in the corner. So that's a nice corner. Yes, it's got a spot that you probably have to address there, depending on what kind of build you're doing, but not a bad one. Okay, a little door ding there. Can kind of see the scratch. And then going down this lower rocker, this has got a couple almost odd places because I don't see them here. So it may have had some damage here at one time, or maybe it was rust, it's hard to say. And then somebody started to go in and repair it. But nonetheless, there is a hole that's not been repaired. This would need to be filled in. I would just weld it in personally, because it looks like a place that could be easily hid once it's done properly. I would probably not suggest filler in that spot, and the main reason is because the door is going to slam there. Not only are these rigid already driving down the road, but a nice slam of a door, and filler's not going to last too long there. Okay, those little hole or screw holes along the top of the belt rail there, those were for a soft top. If you're not going to run a soft top or no top or want a real clean look, you can fill all those in. The ones that run along that kind of that brighter red color there, Those are for the fender flares, and those were factory fender flares on it, okay? Now, I said this on the other tub, and if you watch the other tub video, you'll know what I'm talking about. This area right here that's blown out on these guys, somebody kind of went into them and tried to repair, but again, didn't do a very good job. This is very common on CJs. If this tub was perfect in every way, shape, or form, but just those were blown out, and I wouldn't discount it all that much because that's so freaking common on them. It's hard to find that not. Surprisingly, one of the few tubs I've ever listed, even our really clean ones, have that done, and that one I did earlier did not have that. That was actually really clean on both sides. So this one on it very minimal is the outside. The inside, at least on that side, does not look like it got into that support. So it means that that outer layer is going to need to be cut out, but I don't think you're going to have to get into the support area, which is nice. We'll look at this one here in a second when I come to the other side. Okay, and then as far as the mounts for your hinges, your windshield hinges, this is a little bit pitted, and it's probably got a little bit of surface rust in here. You can see almost the bubbling here, but it is solid, okay? It's a little, I would say, you can see a couple little, almost looks like they pulled something. They put something here, maybe pulled this out, which ironically, that other one had some issues here too. That's not a very common spot that I see have issues. So I was a little surprised to see that on the other one and a little bit on this one as well, but clearly it's there. Now this one's got little pinholes coming up there, and it is thin right there in the center once again. So I would say, even though this isn't blown out, this is probably gonna have to be cleaned up, and similar to that other one. The top of it, this doesn't really look like it's got anything. It does have some surface or even some pitting along the edges here. Because this is so covered up, I would simply just get in there, get bare metal and cover it up. Coat, epoxy primer, whatever you want to do on it. But again, this is, you're going to have a windshield frame on the top. You probably know this all already. We've not pulled your Jeep apart. There's the dash overlay. Your whole dash panel actually comes up and over this, and then the windshield frame comes down over it. So you don't want to just hide it because it will spread. But nonetheless, it's something that is easily, fixable because you don't have to do a lot to it because it is hidden. All right. The firewall on this is pretty clean, but I'm going to say pretty clean. There is some spot, some oxidation, maybe even some surface rust along the side where these go, but this is pretty solid through here. Again, there's a little bit of flaking here, so whether you use a media blaster or wire wheel, you want to clean that up again, get it treated. That's not that bad. That's not that bad. There's a little spot here I noticed that started to go out. So this is folded over, and the outside fold is in good shape, but the inside, what this attached to, for some reason, either was damaged or whatever, but this is blown out here, and it needs to be patched there. You want that pretty solid because your fender hangs there. Okay, and on that note, we're gonna follow the rain gutter up here, and we're good. And then right here in the center, we're starting to see real sharp where this edge is kind of broken off here, and even deteriorated, not quite into the cowling, which is lucky because that gets kind of pricey to get into this area here, but it is this rain gutter area. And depending on how you'd want to fix it, again, this is kind of hidden because there's a seal that goes there, but you definitely wouldn't want to leave this untreated. I want to get in there and get as much of that as I could out, treat it, re-weld a piece in there, and then put that rain gasket sealant back into it. And the same thing goes for down here. I couldn't get into this all that much, but you can kind of see the gasket materials lifted off here a little bit. And I'm assuming right here at these seams, there's going to be a little buildup. So all these little things, even though there's not real hard to fix, there's a lot of time into that. And that's why this is going to be priced right at $1,000 less than that other one. So if you want to save money and you're going to have to kind of be there anywhere in that other one, maybe this one's a better tub for you. Here's that hole, comes all the way through here. Okay. Now, depending on who you are and what you want to do, there's two sections. Well, there's actually three. If you consider the lower tub, you have your windshield frame, this is your cowl area, your windshield frame mounting area here. This is a section, and then of course your tub is your lower section. If you didn't want to mess with all this rain gutter crap, and you didn't want to I'm not going to use that word because I'll have to, you didn't want to mess with this, you could simply get around, and this isn't simply, but it is, and it's not a huge job. We've actually done this before. When you do YJ swaps to CJ7s, this piece is usually cut out and then replaced with a CJ one because it makes the swap a little bit easier when it comes to your ducting. So not very difficult, but you need to remove this and then this comes out, and then you can simply spot weld this back in. And I have almost a perfect CJ7 one right now. So it's hard for me to tell you that you'd want to replace that whole cowl. And the reason is because the rest of that cowl is gorgeous. It's round, it's smooth, it doesn't have a lot of dings on it. They usually always have dings on them. So there's a little bit of issues, save some money on it, have to put that money back in the time and labor later, okay? There's your blown out hole just like on the other one, so you got some repair there. And then looking there, the support is good, but you can see light peering around the corner there. So outside of that needs to be completely fixed, patched. But again, same thing, that's what I was hoping for, is we haven't got into that supported area to have to replace it. Not huge to have to do, but a lot more time to have to get in there and really reinforce that. That's a support section. They have them here, and on these corners, and really they're there to help if you ever roll your Jeep, you don't get crushed. So, I mean, it's not, you know, as good as a full cage, but it's pretty damn good how well these things hold up in an accident. So by messing with those supports and not fixing them properly, you definitely jeopardize, you know, an accident for you or yourself, your loved one, whatever. So, okay, this side, got a couple little blotches of spray paint. Not sure what they were doing there, but I don't see any reasons. Now this is a boxing area, so it's hard to see. But as far as feeling this, you know, who knows? They might have had a pinhole. I don't feel anything there. And if they fixed it, they did a dang good job of it. And it's hard to say. Maybe they were just, probably they were just bubbled up a little bit of surface and they got in there and just covered it, which is the best thing to do. But it's hard to say because they're so smooth. So something to keep in mind on it. Now the corner on this side is almost as clean as that other side, but there's a couple dings on it. At least I thought there were. Maybe it was just the sticker making it look weird. Yeah, this actually is pretty clean. So that corner I'd say is solid too. The lower rocker though, of that tailgate rocker, that side's good. And then right here, you get a little indentation here. That's a boxed in area. So the way that we would pull this, if we were doing the body work on it or having somebody do it, is we put a plate on that more than likely and leverage it out and pull that whole section, because you don't have to pull a lot to get that flat. And it really, when I flip it up here on the side, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a really difficult area to go in from the backside unless you cut into that box area. That box area is so clean on this one, I probably wouldn't monkey with that. But one body shop isn't to another. So, and then lastly, let's talk about this trunk area. It's pretty flat, but I do see a little waves in it. I always like to illustrate that because sometimes when these get real overloaded, you'll start seeing that in these. This one's not that bad. It's hard to even see it, but because I've been doing this so long, I can definitely see it. And I see it mainly at different angles when it's upright or when it's over on the side. I seen it earlier. Otherwise, you're looking down on it, you're not going to see it. The wheel wells themselves, pretty good. A couple dings in it there, though. You can see some bent metal there. The feet of the roll bar, I didn't really talk about those. I'll get to those here in a second. The back ones are okay. They're a little thin. I probably get this reinforced nonetheless, because I assume when you get this wire wheel down or media blasters, you're probably going to pop through a couple places, at least on that side. This side's pretty solid, so you might not, this would probably be okay. But you do see a couple ripples here. Hard to say what happened. Probably with this being damaged here, a flat tire came up and they drove a little bit further than they should have, and it just beat the shit out. Beat this, you know, snot out of the inside of this wheel well. But it's hard to say. They might have had tools back here rolling around or something heavy. Maybe they were taking their weight set to the gym or something. Anyway, but there is some damage there. Something if you're going to be lining this thing or putting carpet in it, clean it up, throw that stuff in it, and most of that will be hidden. If you're doing carpet, it definitely will be hidden, but you'll know it's there, but nobody else will. So it's one of those things. Okay, the roll bar feet, the front ones especially, and you'll see this when I flip this up on its side here, they're gone on this. The other one I listed, at least the holes were still there. The holes are there, actually, surprisingly, on both, but the bolts are all broken off in them. So at very minimal, you're going to be drilling holes out to at least get your roll bar back in, but you're not going to want to melt this back in. And that's a good foot. I would say the other one was about this big. This is a good foot across. It's the whole roll bar foot pad that's bad on the bottom floor here. The good news, at least on this side, is the back support, okay, which always loves to rot out on CJs, is actually pretty solid on this. So you definitely patchwork there. The channels weren't terrible, but they are going to need a little bit of work, and you can kind of see that one is actually coming apart on the top of it there. So I'll get up to close. This one you got floor damage, again about a foot here, and then you do have a little bit on the back of this one. And again, both bolts are broke off. I don't want to make sure. And even if you did only want to come up into this a little bit, I would say screw it. And I would cut it out and plate. And I'd come all the way up and plate, at least to the lower edge of this. You don't have to get us to get up in this because it's not that bad. But this is pretty thin. You can see how bad it's thinned out there. And if you media blast this at all, you're going to poke through most of this anyway. You're going to see holes. You're going to see light everywhere. So For what it is, it's not that bad. The rest of this floor is really good shape. This tunnel is excellent. The firewall inside is excellent, except for that corner we looked at. The floors, I think what they did is probably just coated it. It probably was bare metal, oxidized. It's got a couple little surface areas popping up, but it's pretty smooth, and it's real solid. I mean, you're not gonna have to replace any subfloor here. I'd get it cleaned up, take the water out of it. That'll come out when I flip it up here in a second. So that's how this side looks, and then that side's, that's perfect. There's nothing on that one at all. And really, this is as close to perfect as you probably are going to find as well. That floor is excellent. Normally, if you have stuff like this, and you have this, and you have that, and you know, a couple other things we've seen on this tub, usually the floorboards are pretty much there as well. But luckily, and that's kind of what keeps this one where it does. So, otherwise, I probably wouldn't have messed with it. Okay, so let's pause the video for just a second, and we will flip her on its side, wrap this video up, and then I'll go on to that one, and then I got to run up 2 hours out of the way tonight to pick up my little boy's scooter. All right, so the bottom's going to be almost just as self-explanatory as the top is, with the exception of maybe a couple broken bolts that you might have to extract, and there's really only one I see. It's this bottom one, and there's a ton of meat on there, so you should be able to play quite a bit without having to get into that and risk having to cut into that to remove that. So when there's that much on them, some heat and some vice grips will go a long way. And that's clearly not what they use. Matter of fact, it's such a clean cut. My guess is that they had not the strongest gun, because the rest of these came out no problem. And the threads are all clean in them. And instead of monkeying around with it, they just decided to go ahead and cut it. Now, what are those tubes there? There's a rollover valve up in there. I don't know if it's any good or not. We usually pull them and sell them separately. We'll still have you to yank that one. It may not be good anyway, but that's what those are there for. Most of them have them. There's a breather tube from your axle here. It's been cut. They all have that as well. This box-in area is in really good shape. It's got some cleanup here. You don't want to let that go because it's all right now just mainly oxidation. Not even really surface rust at all to clean up there. But you got good threads. I always count them off just to show you they're in good shape. Even if there's a broken bolt like the bottom one, the fact that it's not collapsed is a big deal. These do move around. They're captured nuts. They're supposed to. Do not weld these. I have had people do that before, and that will make it very, very difficult to bolt your frame down to it, okay? So we got 1, 2 nice clean threads, just like we like. Even this one, look at that, 3. So I'm going to come back to this in a second. 3. Oh, this one's broken. So that's one that you'll have to mess with. And that one's got some meat on it too, but it's kind of wedged itself up in there. So you'll have to wiggle around and get that to pull a little bit. That one is too. So we'll come back to those here in a second. 4. Now this one here, this capture nut, is the whole box is gone in it. That's okay, because you can put your hand back here. That's sharp as heck. Slice the shit out of myself. And you can kind of see it actually separated. So the capture, you can actually re-put that back in and fix that area if you like. And that, it might even be in here somewhere. But nonetheless, if you're going to have any problems, that's the one you want to have, because it's super accessible, super easy to fix that one, okay? So there's your 5 on that side, and then 6. This one's actually in good shape. You can see the threads nice and clean. That one's broken like the other middle one. See, it should look like that. And that's what that other one will do. Once you tap this around with a hammer, you can get this to break free. I'm sure of it. There's probably got a little rock or something jammed up in there, because it's a pretty big area. Okay, so 5, 6, and then 7. That would be this guy here, which you can see. Oh, there it goes. It fell into the floor. So I'll show that in a second so you can see what I'm talking about within these things. And I'll make sure I send that along with it. So that would have been 8, 9, and nice clean threads there again. And then, of course, the last one here. Okay, so the bottom, you know, if it was just the bottom and the top didn't have what it has, this thing would still be pretty highly graded. So, because, I mean, Media Blast going to clean it up a lot. Still do an underlayment on it. And then fix your issues before you do that, of course. But let's go here real quick, because you got all this area that you're going to have to clean up on that right there for your roll bar feet, okay? Your roll bar feet holes, and look at that. So those are going to be actually fairly easy to pull. Those are there, and actually those are there as well. So you might be able to extract these and not mess with them. But nice and solid, that's good. That's on that passenger side. And then the floor itself is what you're going to be replacing, but you can see the channel is in really, really good shape. So if you do that right, you won't have to monkey with replacing this channel. If you do it wrong, you're gonna have to put a new channel in it. And I mean by if you hack this thing out like I've seen sometimes people do on them. So, okay, here's the other one. Again, the channel is actually really clean. And then your floor on the top and then down. And then I think Yeah, right there you can see where it's getting weak there, okay? And then again, your roll bar bolts are up in here and there and there. So that's actually cool to see. I didn't think we'd have that. I thought they were gonna be pretty demolished, but I think you could probably, if you didn't want to get into these, because you don't want to get in this channel if you can help it, save you some time and money. All right, I think that's it. I already showed you the bottom, sides, corners look good. Let's see, anything else? The skirting, we got a couple little bends on the lower skirting. This is pretty easy to fix, but just something to take note of. Here's an up close on that guy as well. It's actually not even all the way through on this side, so it's holy, but it's not as deeper, and it just doesn't have an opportunity to do much there unless it gets into that other. So the same thing, you can see it there. That side was just as like the other one, but there's no rust on these this layered steel on the bottom here. All right, so let's take a quick look at that captured nut just to show you what it looks like. So that's the captured area, right? That's kind of beat up there. That's what holds it. And then that's what you're essentially going into on all these little spots where they're broken off. That's what it is. That one looks like it's almost ready to go. So, and you could simply take a little bit of square, steel, stamp that steel out, cut it out, however you want to do it, and then tap drill it, and you'd have your own captured square nut, and then you'd have to just make something like this. But these are all in there, so you could probably save that guy. All right, questions, comments, concerns, let me know. I'll take a couple photos at the bottom. And then, like I said, I got to get rolling. So 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. Thanks, and have a great day. Happy Mother's Day tomorrow.